Good to go.
Monday, February 27th, 2023. White Lake City Council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Scott.
Here.
Beauregard.
Here.
Grams. Here. Kramer. Zins.
Here. Everybody please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next item up is the consent agenda. Does everybody have a chance to look over the consent agenda items? And if so, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Beauregard, is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Councilor Grams. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And later this year for anything later. So report from staff, City Administrator Ernie.
Nothing to report tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Let's see, Mitch walked in, so I just move on to report from elected officials. Councilor Grams,
Nothing to report tonight.
Councilor Gardner,
Nothing to here.
Councilor Scott,
I have nothing to report.
and I do not have anything either. So business, new business. 11-1. And this is the proposed contract amendment for the Midway Shelter Project. Becky.
So, Public Works Director Schnutzinger and I met with Matt Reed of SEH to discuss the Midway Shelter Project. In that meeting, we discussed decreasing the scope and size of the shelter itself to help reduce costs. Because if you remember, that came in over $500,000 for the dirt work and the shelter at the size of the current one that got tore down size. So we are reducing the size of the shelter itself, extending the concrete patio out so you can have picnic tables both inside the shelter and on the exterior, and then putting a bituminous paved surface attached to that patio with the idea that the Water Carnival Committee could rent a tent, put it over that bituminous improved surface, and then it could be used for courts, basketball courts, etc. That part we will discuss at a later meeting. But in the future, I did meet with Councilor Grams, who also doubled as a member of the Water Carnival Committee, and she indicated that Water Carnival obviously would be open to the idea. Remember, they do have $10,000 to donate to us for this project. They know and understand that if it's going to cost us north of $500,000, it does not make sense for the city to put that kind of money into a program for once a year, especially when we're looking at doing other improvements that will help them with their event every year, with the bituminous surface, that kind of thing. With that change of scope comes additional costs from the engineering firm. Kenny and I both reviewed that. It all looks good. We would recommend that you approve that amended contract tonight.
So the amended contract is for additional $9,500.
Correct.
And Mike Larson is here from SEH. Anybody have any questions for Mike? If not, is there a motion to approve? I'll make that motion. Is there support?
I'll support.
Moved by Mayor Zinn, supported by Councilor Graham. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I so really nice.
Okay, 11.2, Ranger ATV Sonoma Club invoice in the amount of $25,412 for the 7 Beaver / Moose Trail Belovic Sidewalk project. This is just money passing through the city. City acts as a fiscal agent for the Ranger Club, and this money will be reimbursed to the city.
This is that bridge.
Yep, the second of 3 payments for the bridge.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Border, is there support?
I'll support that motion.
Supported by Councilor Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11.3, White Lake Chamber of Commerce. LG 240B, application to conduct excluded bingo on 4/2, 5/21, 9/24, and 11/19 at Timothy Robinson Post 8411 VFW for the Timothy Robinson Auxiliary number 8144.
And just to clarify, it's actually not the Chamber of Commerce, it's just the VFW Auxiliary is the organization on the application. The regular VFW is our parent company who holds the gambling license. And Richard likes us to get our own when we're doing gambling, he doesn't want to run it through the VFWs. So the auxiliary is getting their own permit to do bingo, so Richard doesn't have to do the paperwork and add it to his monthly stuff.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yep, so it's just actually the VFW Auxiliary who's making the application.
Perfect. I will be sure that's correct for that.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Border, is there support? I'll support that. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. 11.4, resignation from the City of White Lakes Emergency Medical Services Department. This is to accept the resignation of Matthew Carlson from the White Lake EMS Department. There a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Scott. There's support.
I'll support.
Support by Councilor Borgard. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 11.5, updated electric sign policy.
As you can see by the next several agenda items, I went through our policies and job descriptions to update where needed. This particular policy wasn't in the same format as the rest of them. It also had fees listed in them, which we actually passed via ordinance. So I just pulled the fees out of there. They'll get added to the ordinance next time we pass it. We'll just keep charging the same amount in the meantime. And then just updating the format to match all of our fees.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Graham, is there support?
I'll support that.
Support by Councilor Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Updating building use policy, same thing, Becky?
Yep, actually, this one's just a little bit different. So upon recommendation of our safety committee and the League of Minnesota Cities, communities in Minnesota have been facing what's called First Amendment audits, which is where people come into buildings and even if they, as long as the door is open, they go in and just spend time in there, they film people, they do that kind of thing. So this policy just outlines that even though the garage doors in the public works garage are open, it's a not for public use building, no one is allowed in there unless they're accompanied by an employee, that kind of thing. Same with the EMS department, you know, if the ambulance bay doors are open, Joe Schmo off the street can't just walk in and start filming in there and doing whatever they want. That is a not for public space. So this policy just clarifies that a little bit. It makes a couple of changes regarding those types of things, that even though a door isn't locked, it could still just be employees only area.
Mention you, looked at this,
Yeah.
everything final? Okay. I see a lot of this. Stuff on YouTube and stuff, and I think it's. Just antagonistic of monster. All those in favor, or is there a motion to approve? I'll make that motion. Motion made by Councilor Scott, is there support?
Not the board.
For Councilor Graham, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Women's president. The social media policy.
This was updated to include a few additional social media policies. It also used to say city clerk, where it says city administrator now. I was informed after this went into the packet that there are a few more library pages, which if you approve the policy with amendments, they will be added. The library has Instagram and Twitter and a TikTok.
So we'd have to amend those at a later date.
You could just approve the policy with amended social media.
Is there a motion to approve with that?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Graham, is there support? I'll support that. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. 11H, personnel, updated personnel policy handbook.
Again, just reviewing, I try to go through policies and everything once a year to make sure they're all current and correct. The primary changes to this include the section about time cards for the fire EMS casual part-time employees. We worked it out, Tammy, Jordan, Mel, Tony and I sat down and discussed this. There was a lot of confusion as to why EMS only members were being paid $15 per month for a meeting, but fire department we were paying $30. So this just straightens it all out. They're expected that every single hour they're working for the city, they have to fill out a time card and submit it to us. And then it also updates, actually adds back in a tuition policy, which was in the previous version, but got removed because we had a separate tuition agreement. But then the auditor said, well, you should also have a policy on it, so got added back in. I discussed this with Mel because she's pretty much the Department of Tuition Reimbursements. She reviewed it and said it looked good, would work for her needs. Essentially, the policy just states that we do offer tuition reimbursement. If you want tuition reimbursement, you have to enter into a tuition agreement, which is essentially what we're doing in practice.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve of these corrections?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Borger. Is there support?
I'll support that.
Supported by Councilor Scott. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Supplemental information, regular city, council meeting, 227, updated full-time employee job description.
So I had supervisors review job descriptions for all of their employees. We did do pay equity reporting, so all of the job descriptions for full-time employees have been updated with pay equity points. The other couple of changes were in updates to the all the EMS full-time employees to indicate that they work with scheduled drugs, and so they are responsible for monitoring those. That kind of thing, update to a, my job description to indicate that a master's degree would be required within X number of years of hire, I think it's 7 or 9. And then update to the heavy equipment operator position, job description, in public works, so their combination specialist can be either formerly a mechanic or a heavy equipment operator, so it's just an update to outline that information. Better match what we're currently operating under as far as job description within the city.
Pay equity points, the higher number, the better, or?
That is how the state operates, yes. Yep. And they have, the state has when we do pay equity, they have a huge handbook of every single job description, pay equity points within the entire state of Minnesota. And then we have to go through that and try to match up what our job descriptions fit into. So like, for example, the state of Minnesota does not hire any paramedics. So the closest thing we can match it to is like an emergency RN. So, you know, we do that, we match it the best we can. But that reporting is required every 3 years for both us and our fiscal entity, the East Range teams.
And you said this was something you talked with supervisor about?
Correct, yeah.
And these pay equity points, they're mostly in line with what the state plays out.
They're
The best
exactly, yeah, to the best we can, yeah, yeah. For example, the state doesn't have a heavy equipment operator, they have a highway maintenance personnel, so. You know, looking at the job duties, they're pretty similar, so that's what we would choose for that.
All right,
One thing too, I just want to comment, we go through the job description, so White Lakes is a little unusual, because if you look at your management level positions, so your city administrator, you're a salary exempt position. But your public works director, your public utilities director, your EMS director, your library director, which in most other local units of government would always consider what we call salary exempt position, meaning they would be typically paid on a salary basis, and they would be exempt from the overtime pay requirements under federal wage and hour law. White Lakes is a little bit of a outlier in that regard, because while those types of director positions normally salary exempt, I think in almost all other cities on the range. Here in White Lakes, your director, your department head, they're all, you treat them as non-exempt employees. So that means that you do pay them overtime. So classifying them as non-exempt is not illegal. You can do that. But when you do officially classify a position that normally would be exempt, but you choose to classify it as non-exempt, what that means is you are required under federal wage and hour law to pay overtime premium pay for any hours worked in excess of 40 hours in a work week. So that is a little unusual here. That's been the history here going back decades.
And that is part of their negotiated.
And that is part of their negotiated collective bargaining unit. So it's not anything that you could unilaterally change. If you were to change that, you would have to do that at the bargaining table during contract negotiations to try to change those salary positions. So for example, it's just that by comparison, the public works director in Evelyn is a salary exempt person. That means he's responsible to work as many hours in a week as it takes to get the job done. Sometimes, that might be a 60 or 70 hour work week. He doesn't get any additional pay for working 60 hours. If they have some big emergency water line break and he needs to be there to oversee what's going on, he doesn't get any extra pay for that. That's part of his regular salary that is paid. What they do allow in EWA, and that, you do have some of that here with your city administrator, there is a flex time provision in his contract where if he's here extra hours, he can flex his time later in the pay period to take some additional time off, but he doesn't get any overtime pay. So that's confirmed in your job description with your various director, department head positions that they are classified as non-exempt.
And if in the future it was to be negotiated in their contract that they would become salaried, right now they're in the non-union hourly employment contract, if they were to join my salary employment contract, those job descriptions would be updated at that time to reflect that change.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve this? I'll make the motion. Is there support?
I'll support.
Move Mayor Zinn, supported by Councilor Graham. Is there further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. And last, pay request number 6 from Lindsay Enterprises in the amount of $4,750 for Fisherman's Point bathhouse project.
Pretty standard here, with the amount of the pay request, you can see that they did a little bit of work, but not a ton. They do have a substantial completion date of the end of June, so they have quite a bit of time left to finish out here in the spring.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Bordeaux, is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Councilor Graham. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
I don't know who's gonna adjourn, that's not. We're all gonna have to sit here.
Your motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilor Bordeaux, is there support?
I'll support.
Supported by Councilor Graham. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.